What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Tuesday edition on this last day of February, the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I am back. I am your host, Josh Harris. Everything went well. Thank you to Cliffy and Pete for stepping up in my absence. Had some planned stuff with my son. If you saw on Twitter, he's doing fine. Who knows where he is. He's running around tormenting the dogs now. Snowy little Tuesday. How we doing, Cliffy?
Doing good. You and I were talking just before the show. It seems like this NHL season's really flown by. I was looking at the standings today. Some teams are at like 63 games, 62 games. Like there's a lot of teams that are at like 20 games or, 19 games or whatever. Like there's a quarter of the season left. It seems like it's really flown by with March 1st coming around here tomorrow. So not a lot of time left in the DFS season. I really do feel it's weird how fast the season has gone, but I guess that's just kind of the way it goes when you're in this day in and day out. One day bleeds to the next, and all of a sudden it's springtime. So we are kind of in that mode right now. We do have to shout out Brandon Mack, though. Congrats to his bank last night. Took down the $4.20 max over on DK. Took first place for 2,000 on his 20 entries. So very good night by him. Congrats to you, Brandon Mack. Hopefully you can do it again here before the season's out. I mean, there's still, like I said, there's still a quarter of the season. We have like 6 weeks left. So lots of time to play, to go here in the regular season. Congrats to you. I didn't cash last night. I got bumped out by that Anaheim-Chicago game. I knew it was going to screw me somehow. I game stacked Ottawa-Detroit, which was looking good for the first half of that game, and then Detroit just disappeared, and I had no Claude Giroux. So that's how that went. How'd you do last night?
I cashed thanks to that Terry goal.
Of course you did. Yeah, congrats. Your first day back in a full capacity kind of was yesterday, so I will say, okay, you can take my money. I will give you last night. Congrats on your Troy Terry goal.
Well, here's the thing. I also played Detroit one. They were super cheap. They just kind of, after the second period, they just kind of disappeared. I also played Hintz and Robertson. Wasn't very good there. I had Georgiev, so that was big for me, and I hit that Terry goal at the end to give him a goal and an assist. Snuck into the min cash there. Cam Fowler, donut, bagel for me, but it was kind of a weird night. I stayed up way too late watching that game. I missed Brandon McDonald winning the forecheck because after Terry scored, I passed out. But I see he has a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. Took down the forecheck last night. Thanks for all the work on the shows and in the chat, fellas. Let's get him tonight. That's the plan. It's one of the last it's a $19 qualifier on DraftKings. I would imagine the last one is going to be a 1,111. just how it goes. But tonight is the 19. I think it's a 40 max. So congrats, Jake, on your Jake. Jake always wins the 19s. I don't know what it is. Since he's switched over from going to one lineup to MME, I think he's qualified 2 years in a row winning the 19. I can't jinx it because if you don't win it tonight, you're still going next week.
Yeah. He's still on his way next week. I see your internet might have cut out real quick, but yeah, thank you very much, Brandon, for the $50 super chat. That's very generous. We certainly do appreciate it. Glad we could help in any small way that we could, but it's still you pushing the buttons and putting the lineups in. So congrats to you on your hit last night. Hopefully we can help you do it again, and hopefully we can help others do the same. We are going to jump into these games. Before we do, just want to let everybody know that there is a brand new live Odd Shopper betting show. It debuted yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern. If you're into betting, you can join Lofty, Ben, Greg, Eric, Aton, and all the regulars as they break down the night's best bets using premium Odd Shopper tools and data. So it is started yesterday. It is Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern over on the Odd Shopper channel. So be sure to go check that out. If you're into more sports betting than DFS, or if you just want to supplement your DFS a little bit, a lot of really sharp minds over there. So that's Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern over on the Odd Shopper channel. Go get some help with your best bets. All right, we're going to jump into this first game. Detroit has a 3.1 implied goal total. They are going in Ottawa. The Ottawa Senators, I shouldn't say they're going in Ottawa. They're already there. The Ottawa Senators have a 3.3 implied goal total. Obviously, well, not obviously. Maybe you didn't watch the NHL last night. You could be forgiven for that. Detroit and Ottawa played last night. Detroit just stayed overnight. They're playing a back-to-back. Ottawa won last night 6-2, as we mentioned at the top of the show. It was a close game for, like I said, the first half of the game, and then Ottawa really poured it on in the second half and just kind of laid waste to the Red Wings. So hopefully today might be a little bit different. They do have Ville Husso in net. It is not their backup, so they do have Husso in net, and Husso's been pretty good this year. Ottawa did use Cam Talbot yesterday, so Cam Talbot will not be starting for the Senators here tonight. It's expected to be Mads Søgaard, but we'll see when warmups hit. Not really a whole lot to speak about from that game in general. I think the biggest note was all the penalties and all the power plays. There were 10 power plays in total in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Detroit had 4, Ottawa had 6. These are two teams that do draw a lot of power plays. If I'm not mistaken, Ottawa is at the top of the league in power play opportunities per game at 3.8. And Detroit, believe it or not, over the last month or so has climbed all the way up to second. So you have first and second teams in power play opportunities per game going up against each other. So yes, there should be a fair amount of power plays again here tonight. It's just a matter of where you want to go with your lines. Welcome back, Josh.
Hey,
I was just digging into the Ottawa-Detroit game, saying, yes, they did play last night. Husso and Søgaard expected to start here tonight. Claude Giroux was back up on that top line. He had 4 points. And the big note was that there were 10 power plays in that game last night. 4 on the Detroit side, 6 on the Ottawa side. I think there are only 2 power play goals, but it speaks to the power play opportunity that exists in this game. Obviously, Ottawa has a great top power play. They have basically all season long. It's something, Josh, that you and I have talked about basically since like November, is that they are one of those teams that does derive a ton of their value from the power play. So there are options of what you can do with Ottawa. You can just use the top line of Tkachuk, Stützle, and Giroux. 2 out of 3 on the top power play. And we saw with Giroux yesterday that he doesn't need all the power play time to have a really big night. So I do like Ottawa again here tonight. The Ottawa they have been pretty, very good offensively. Going back to January 1st, 5.9 goals per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. That is really, really good. Notice like Tim Stützle has 93 points in his last 82 regular season games. So it's been quite the upward trajectory for him. So I do like Ottawa's top line again. The matchups don't really concern me that much. And they even got a fair bit of time against that Cop line last night. So I do like Ottawa one again here tonight. If you want to go back to that Detroit, well, absolutely no problem there. They're coming in at about 7% ownership. I think it's perfectly fine. We say all the time, as long as Lucas Raymond's not on the top line, Dylan Larkin tends to do a lot better. Larkin and Perron are up to 225 minutes this year. At 5-on-5 without Lucas Raymond, 3.4 expected goals for, 4.0 actual goals for. Larkin has 33 shots and 13 points in his last 10 games. So they're playing well. They're generating a lot. Ottawa does give up a lot of power play opportunities. They were all on the power play yesterday. So I think going back to both top lines is fine. But if you want to just turn Ottawa into a power play stack, I think that's fine as well. Like, just look at last night. Thomas Chabot, 3-point night. Batherson, a goal with the shot bonus. Like, you can't forget about those guys on the second line. So if you just want to do an Ottawa power play stack, I think you can go in that direction as well. All right, let's get to our next gun. Next one, not next gun. The Florida Panthers 3.0 implied goal total. They're going into Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Lightning have a 3.8 implied goal total. The big news on the Florida side, obviously, is that there's going to be no Alexander Barkov and there's going to be no Sam Bennett in the lineup for Florida here tonight. That is a pretty big loss for them. Obviously, it is their top two centers, and Barkov is just flat out one of the best two-way centers in the league. So there's Josh. Hey, welcome back.
Well, I don't know what's going on. Third time might be the charm.
Okay, yeah, we're on to Florida, Tampa Bay now. So just talking about how Barkov and Bennett look like they're going to be out tonight. That is a pretty big loss, obviously, for that team, and it's forced them to shuffle up the lines a little bit. So Tkachuk and Verhaeghe have broken up. Tkachuk, Reinhart, Lundell, top line. Verhaeghe, Luostarinen, Duclair, second line. That's kind of bothersome because you want to see Tkachuk and Verhaeghe together. But by the same token, I was mentioning in our Discord this morning, Lundell and Tkachuk have only played about 40 minutes together this year. In those 40 minutes, they're generating 100 shot attempts per 60 minutes. And that is basically like middle of the league for a power play. They're not going to keep up 100 shot attempts per 60 minutes, but they are generating a ton. It just surprised me how much ownership they're coming in with. It's double-digit ownership, which is still positive leverage. Don't get me wrong. It's still positive leverage on the Florida top line, but 10% ownership feels like a lot. But that would be the line I would go to Florida. It would be the top line. The problem with the second line is no Matt Tkachuk. Anthony Duclair, he looked good in the one game that I watched in his return, but I don't want to rely on him having, playing 18 minutes or playing like the guy he was last year when he's so fresh off that injury in that return. And, Luostarinen, no power play time. And I think he's more of a defensive guy at this point of his career. I think it's Florida one for me. The question is what to do with Tampa, because they messed up their lines quite a bit. They traded for Tanner Jeannot. Jeannot's coming in on the third line with Paul and Colton. Alex Killorn moving up to the top line with Point and Kucherov, and Hagel down to the second line with Cirelli and Stamkos. Those are interesting line combinations. There's obviously no sample with Alex Killorn on the top line this year. Going back to last year, Point and Kucherov haven't really been great without one of Stamkos or Hagel on the top line. 450 minutes together, 5-on-5 over the last 2 years, 2.7 expected goals for, 2.9 against, underwater by expected goal share without either Hagel or Stamkos on the line. 3.5 expected goals for, which is really good offense, don't get me wrong, but 4.2 goals against, underwater by goal share as well. That's a struggle, and they're probably going to get some of that Florida 2 matchup. So it makes me kind of interested in Florida 2, but I think it's just I would stick with Florida 1, and I hate to say it, but I think this is another game where I like both top lines the best, and I don't think it's particularly close for me.
Yeah. I mean, for Florida, it's simple for me. I'm playing the line, whatever line Kachuk's on. He's their best player. I don't know if I want to play Tampa here tonight, or excuse me, Florida here tonight with that ownership, with the lines broken up. You don't have massive samples there. It's just I just don't have a great feeling about double digits with those line combinations. Tampa's getting almost no ownership here. Now there's a couple things you can do. I would imagine Killorn up on that top line is also on the top power play, makes that line fully correlated. I think you can play them there. I mean, with Killorn there, it's definitely much cheaper to full stack. You get full power play correlation. It remains to be seen how much Killorn actually contributes on the power play. But at the same time, when Hagel was up there, Hagel really wasn't doing much on the power play either. So, maybe you could take the savings there, or you could back in line, Cirelli, Stamkos, and Hagel. Cirelli has started to play much better this season. Stamkos on the top, get a good 5-on-5 up. I think there's plenty of things you can hear with Tampa. Depending on what you want to do, the ownership is low across the board. So if you want a power play stack, you just stack Tampa 1 or add in Stamkos. Or if you want the 5-on-5 matchup, go to Tampa 2. Just a matter of how you want to build. Tampa 2 is a little bit cheaper. Tampa 1 a little bit more expensive, but you get the full correlation. Just a matter of what you feel about Killorn, I think. I mean, Cirelli's coming up in price a little bit, but I'm starting to like his game a lot more than 6 weeks ago playing with Stamkos. Probably I'll default to the top line just because you get full power play correlation. Florida takes, they take a bunch of penalties. They're pretty high events. So both top lines, but I'm probably out on Florida in my 1-3 just based on ownership.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. And we should mention, as somebody noted in the chat, they did mix up the power play units today. So like you said, top line is now perfectly correlated on the power play with Brandon Hagel moving to the second power play unit. And that includes Mikhail Sergachev going to power play 1. And we'll talk about that a bit when we talk defensemen a little later.
Yeah, I saw the news and I tried to go bet Mikhail Sergachev power play point because it was almost 6-1 on the books, but then they locked it and I got it back at 4-1. It's my big dog plus money prop of the night if you follow me on Twitter. Let's move on to the next game. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets with a 2.9 total heading into Buffalo. The Sabres have a 3.9 total. Elvis Merzlikins, Craig Anderson are confirmed. I forget who someone I follow on Twitter. It's one of the guys who does those charts. Maybe it was Mika. I don't know. He was showing goalie saves above expected or whatever compared to the actual goal. Whatever it was, Merzlikins was the worst in the league. He's probably the worst goalie in the league based off saves above expected, high danger save percentage, this and that.
To jump in on that point real quick, pretty sneakily this season, I think it's close to the biggest gap between starter and backup is between Korpisalo and Merzlikins, which you wouldn't think. You would probably assume something like, Sorokin, Varlamov, or Hellebuck, Riddick, or something. And no, it's not. It's Korpisalo to Merzlikins, which speaks to how good Korpisalo has been, and like you said, just how bad Merzlikins has been.
Yeah, he's been awful because I do generally like him, but he's been absolutely terrible this year. Now, Alex Tuck is out, so Jack Quinn is going to stay on that top line. I think he played around 13 minutes up there with them last game. Also, Rasmus Dahlin still out. Owen Power still power play 1. Thing is, also on the Blue Jacket side, Kirill Marchenko up on the top line with Jenner Gaudreau, second line of Line Johnson, Roslovic. I think going just full Buffalo 1 is fine here. Even if Jack Quinn only plays 13, 14 minutes, he's 3,200. He's going to be up on that top line with Skinner and Thompson. Not going to see power play time, which is kind of a bummer, but I guess you could leave Quinn off and add in Victor Olofsson. It's not a massive price jump there. Olofsson, 4,500. You want to add in Cousins, he's 5,500. I think that's fine as well, but I do particularly like Buffalo 1 here. They are getting a fair bit of ownership here just because now they're under 20K without Tuck. On the flip side, that top line for Columbus is fully correlated. They have a 2.9 road total, and it is Buffalo. It's like they're very good offensively, but you kind of forget how bad they are defensively at times. I don't mind getting to Columbus 1 here. The problem is, like, I don't want to be paying double-digit ownership for Columbus in this spot. I think there's other lines similarly priced in that, 16, 17K range in better matchups at home that I'd rather play. But I think in MME, Columbus 1 and play. My favorite line of the night is Buffalo 1, Buffalo power play. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I did Columbus. Yeah, I'll start on the Buffalo side. People might be scared off from Buffalo with no Rasmus Dahlin. And I think it's a fair point with the power play because Dahlin's played basically every single top power play minute this season. So we don't really have a look of this Buffalo team without Rasmus Dahlin on the blue line on the power play. And you would think that would make a difference. Like, it makes a difference in Colorado when it's Devin Taves there instead of Cale Makar. It makes a difference, in Vancouver when they have Ethan Bear instead of Quinn Hughes. It is a downgrade. Like, I like Owen Power. I think he's probably going to be like a true number one defenseman in the NHL in like 4 years. He's not Rasmus Dahlin. But by the same token, if you look at 5-on-5 numbers, they're basically the same. Like, Tage Thompson's line is scoring and generating nearly just as much with any defense pair out there as they are on the ice with Rasmus Dahlin. It just, how does this hurt them on the power play, which is a big part of their success so far this season, especially, particularly their fantasy success. So at that point, you have to want to play. I think that Buffalo top line is going to come in at 20%. Like, they're going to come in at double the ownership of the Columbus top line. And I'm not sure how great of a power play matchup it is for Buffalo, given that Columbus doesn't take a lot. Like, they're about league average at this point by time shorthanded per game. The penalty kill has generally not been bad this season. Like, that's the one thing that Columbus has been able to hang their hat on. And it's been the same thing of late. Like, I was looking at their last 20 games, basically the middle of the league by shots against, basically the middle of the league by goals against. Like, it's not like an Arizona or Montreal or Chicago situation, or not even Chicago, because they're good now, or Anaheim situation, good on the penalty kill. It's nothing like that. So, if you have an unknown of what they're going to play like without Rasmus Dahlin on the power play, and it's not a great PK spot anyway, and they're coming in with 20% ownership, I think there are reasons to not play Buffalo 1. And also, and this is another thing with the replacement. Like, I'm a big fan of Jack Quinn. I think he should probably be a top 3 Calder Trophy finisher this year for Rookie of the Year. But at this point of his career, he's a shot bot. He's not that good in transition. He doesn't pass the puck. He shoots. That's it. It's like putting Victor Olofsson there. It can be good. They're going to have good nights. But losing Alex Tuch is a big loss because he's a dual threat. He's a good playmaker. He's a good digger, and he can score. Jack Quinn is not a good playmaker. He's not a good digger, and he can score. You lose a lot of good qualities by losing Tuch. 20%, no Tuch, no Dahlin on the power play, not a great power play spot anyway. I don't know, man. Like, Merzlikins would be the reason why I would really want to play Buffalo here tonight. And I hate stacking teams using lines just because I like the goaltending matchup. It feels dumb. So, like, I think I'm out on Buffalo here. Like, I'm fully prepared for the Buffalo Sabres to just completely bury me here tonight in the first period. It could easily happen. I think at the ownership with the unknowns between going from Tuch to Quinn and Dahlin to Power, I think there is reason to fade a 20% top Buffalo line. For the rest of the Buffalo lines, like, I'm not in. Like, JJ Peterka and Peyton Krebs have terrible offensive numbers this year. The only reason they're producing anything is because they're shooting over 20% at 5-on-5. It's like they're not even going to maintain half that. So good for them for getting there in a small sample. That's not going to continue. I'm not playing Casey Middlestad, Zemgus Girgensons, whatever. So, like, if people want to play Buffalo 1, I'll never begrudge people playing a line that's typically been so good. I just think there are reasons to not play them here tonight. It is Columbus 1 that I kind of do like here. They're up to 55 minutes with Marchenko, 3.1 expected goals for, 3.6 actual goals for, shooting under 11% as a line. Those are all pretty much in line. Those are all like numbers that you might expect from a Gaudreau Jenner X line. Like, and Marchenko has been getting a lot of ice time of late, like 19 minutes a game, like a lot of ice time of late, and it's paid off for him. He has 16 shots in his last 5 games, all perfectly correlated on the top power play. Buffalo does take not a lot of penalties, but they're starting. But their penalty kill is starting to really struggle, as it has a lot this season. I think I do like the Columbus top line here, but like I said, I wouldn't begrudge people playing Buffalo 1. If you want to dip down to Columbus 2, I think that's kind of interesting because, Kent Johnson and Laine typically don't have very good numbers together, but Roslovic's been on kind of a little heater. Laine's still on like a 30-goal pace this year. They're not coming in with much ownership. I do think a 2-man of Roslovic, Laine or something like that is perfectly fine, but it is, believe it or not, it's the Columbus top line I like the best in this game.
I get it. I like Columbus here. Marchenko is a shot bot as well. You know what I mean? Like, if Marchenko's a shot bot, Quinn's a shot bot, who'd you rather play? Jenner Gaudreau, Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner?
I get that, but it's also half the ownership, right?
Yeah, true. I think if it was Korpisalo in net for Columbus, I would be fully on board with what you're saying. I just have a hard time. Like, we've seen Tage Thompson end slates before 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You know what I mean? So, like, if it was Korpisalo, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. I just have a hard time wrapping fine. Like, I think Jenner Gaudreau, fine. Like, I think it's good. I just worry that like a 20% Tage Thompson just absolutely nukes Merzlikins, and you're seeing Korpisalo come in at a 5-1 game, like 9 minutes into the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it. I mean, we're not expecting that to happen. That's just my fear of fading the Sabres. I think, your points about fading them are fine. A 20% line on a 10-game slate, there's definitely merit to it. I'm playing devil's advocate for a second, just saying like Merzlikins might be the worst goalie in the NHL. Columbus is not a very good defensive team. It is a scary fade, but I think there is merit to it. And your point about Tuck not being on the line is big, because Tuck is probably the best playmaker on that line. Jack Quinn just kind of is there. So you're relying on Tage Thompson to really make the plays there, which he can do, but it's not going to be as fluid as if Tuck was there. So it's a lot more complicated than it seems this game. So, hopefully that helped. I'm not sure it helped me. I think I'm more confused at the end of this than I was at the start of this. But let's move on to the next one. Seattle Kraken with a 3.3 total heading into St. Louis. The Blues have a 2.8 total. Party Marty, Senor Fiesta, Martin Jones, and Jordan Bennington confirmed for the Blues. I don't know, man. Like, anyone but Marty Jones in that, I'm probably out on the Blues, but now you kind of have to, like, it's one of these situations where I get like Marty Jones, like, for as bad as Merzlikins is, like, Marty Jones has a winning record, but he's trash. Like, he's garbage. Like, he's better than me because he's a professional hockey player, and he's getting paid millions to give up goals in the NHL, but like, maybe not, but like Thomas Buchnevich, some of these power play guys, maybe. And on the flip side, like Kraken with a 3.3 road total, like that's pretty juicy. But the problem is, like, they have 3 playable lines, maybe not the Wenberg line, but like you can at least consider the Gord line or the Eberle line. It's just like they don't get a ton of minutes. Their power play is atrocious. Like, this game's kind of MME for me.
I was hoping we could just skip it.
Yeah.
And, no, I'm not really kidding when I say that. I don't have any interest in anything here. Like, none of the forwards.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, that Seattle top line is just not generating anything. They're relying on shooting 13%. The Seattle second line, the Wenberg line, is generating even less, and Wenberg sucks. And then, the Seattle third line, I mean, sure, they're playable. Use Bjorkstrand and Tolvanen for some power play stacking or something like that. But, no, I'm not stacking anything. I'm not stacking anything in this game. On the St. Louis side, Sad and Kyrou, I don't know if anybody has looked at the numbers with Sad and Kyrou, but it's 2 expected goals generated per 60 minutes this year at 5-on-5.
You don't think Kapanen's going to help?
In 140 minutes together. That's like 12 or 13 games, and they generated a grand total of 5 expected goals. No. And the St. Louis second line's even worse. I'm serious. I'm not stacking anything here. If I were tempted for anything, it would be some sort of 2-man from that Gord Bjorkstrand Tolvanen line. Probably Bjorkstrand Tolvanen. But no, I have no interest in this game at all.
Yeah, I don't really either. I was trying to make something happen there. I think, for the Blues, you have to wait and see. I kind of like that pickup for Kasperi Kapanen. Maybe he can revive himself, getting some top 6 playing time. But yeah, this game is MME for me. I'm not going to force them into my crunches. If they're there organically, then so be it. As we mentioned off the top, maybe I mentioned it before my internet crashed, we are sponsored by Prize Picks, and you can get 1 free month Stokastic Plus Platinum, which is a $120 value, by the way, and up to a $100 deposit match bonus when you sign up and make a deposit with Prize Picks. It is a prop-based contest, so if you're in a state where sports betting is not legal, it's kind of like placing round robins or parlays. They don't really like when you say that, but that's the gist of it. You can go up to 6-man. If you hit 4 or 6, you double your money. 4 or 5, whatever, you still make some money. Obviously, you make the most. If you hit all your picks, you can net up to 10x your entry fees. You can also go cross sport. NHL, NBA tonight. There's UFC 285 this weekend, which I am very excited for, which you can add in as well. Yeah. So click that link in the description. That is the way to sign up for Prize Picks and get your month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, which is a $120 value and a $100 deposit match bonus. So you're getting $220 just by clicking the link in the description. Let's move on to the next one. The Pittsburgh Penguins with a 3.4 total heading into Nashville. The Predators have a 3.1 total. Tristan Jarry, UC Saros confirmed. Oh, man. Okay, I'm just going to say it right here. I see Nashville 1 getting double-digit ownership. If a double-digit owned line with Mikael Granlund buries me, they bury me. I'm not playing them. I don't care how cheap they are. I don't care how correlated they are. I'm not playing Mikael Granlund. You look at his shot rates, he's last in the NHL. Duchesne is a nice player. Tommy Novak has played 57 career games. I'm not doing it. If you want to do it, I think it's fine because, Pittsburgh goaltending is your penalty kill. But I'm just not doing it. I prefer the Pittsburgh side. I like the Pittsburgh top line here coming in under 4%. It's a very good power play spot. It's just a matter of if UC Saros can bail them out or not.
Yeah, I'll bring up our top stacks tool real quick. Duchesne, Novak, Granlund, 5.5% top 2 stack, 12.5% ownership share. One of the worst leverage spots on the entire slate right there with the San Jose top line. So, yeah, the worst leverage spot on the slate. And they're going 11-7, they announced. So whatever line combinations they have, they're going to get completely mixed up. And, if you look at the way they ran their lines in the last game, everything was a mess anyways. All their lines got mixed up basically all game long. Granlund, Novak, and Duchesne started with each other, and then Novak got moved to another line for 3 or 4 shifts, and then they were reunited back together for 5 or 6 shifts, and then Novak was, riding the bench at the end of the game. Nashville is another situation like St. Louis and Seattle, where if you want to one-off Matt Duchesne, I think that's perfectly fine. He has 18 shots in his last 5 games without Philip Forsberg there, so he's still trying to get pretty involved offensively. He's on a 30 goal pace, 30 goal, 70-point pace or something like that. So he's still doing stuff offensively. It's just, do you want to use all 3 players? So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to one-off Tommy Novak or Matt Duchesne or something like that, I guess that's the way to go. But with inconsistent line combinations, Hey, buddy. With inconsistent line combinations, and the team going 11-7, and the team just being bad anyway, like I don't see a reason to do anything more than like a 2-man stack. And if I did that, it would be like a Duchesne and Novak or something like that. But this just seems like a bad team with bad chalk. You know what I mean? And like they lost. Like Philip Forsberg's still out. Ryan Johansson got hurt. Nino Niederreiter got traded. That is an entire scoring line gone. And this was a team that wasn't scoring a ton this season to begin with. So like coming in with it over-owned, no, I'm passing. The question is what to do with the Pittsburgh side, because Pittsburgh, they've been pretty up and down, I think is the best way to, it's maybe the kindest way.
Definitely inconsistent.
Yes, maybe the kindest way to put it. They beat the brains out of Tampa 7-3, and that's not too long after losing 4 in a row and 5 of 6, never scoring more than 4 goals in any game or something like that. So they have been Jekyll and Hyde, but they've been generating a lot. The Pittsburgh top line in the month of February, 4.3 expected goals for. Pittsburgh second line in the month of February, 5.3 expected goals for per 60 minutes. Those two lines are generating nearly 10 expected goals every 60 minutes, which is patently absurd. Their whole problem has been, as it has been at times this year, is just finishing. Top line shooting 5.5% February, second line 8.5%. Brian Rust, 15 shots in his last 5 games. Rickard Rakell, 28 shots in his last 10 games. Like even Zucker, who's not getting a ton of ice time and no top power play minutes, is at like 2.4 shots per game of late. Like they're still generating a ton of offense, just having tough time scoring. And UC Saros at the other side does present a little problem. Nashville penalty kills, not very good though, and they have been taking more penalties. I hate relying on the Pittsburgh power play because it has been, like the team, very inconsistent this year, but I do like the Pittsburgh top line to take advantage of those power play opportunities. But I do think Pittsburgh too is in a pretty fine matchup here, and they're coming in with positive leverage. Now they are expensive, $15,900. But if you're worried about Saros and his ability on the penalty kill and paying all that money for the top line, I think you're fine to do like a Malkin Rust 2-man or a Malkin Zucker 2-man or just one-off like Rust or something like that. I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think the Pittsburgh second line shouldn't get overlooked here. But yeah, it is the Pittsburgh top line that I really do like in this matchup. They are, I think, the best leverage spot in the night. Yeah, they do have the most positive leverage by our top stacks. So I wouldn't overlook Pittsburgh 1, but I think it's the Pittsburgh top 6 that is very much in play here. And I think they make a nice pivot from, what could be much higher owned lines, let's say, in Buffalo or in Minnesota or something like that.
Yeah, I do really like Pittsburgh tonight. It's always just a matter of what Saros can do. Like, how much can he actually save? But, like, how far away removed are we from Carolina putting up almost 70 shots against this team? You know what I mean? So, like, they're going to give up shots. Like Saros could have, like, 41 saves and still give up 5 goals tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I do like Pittsburgh a lot here. Let's move on to a 5.5 total that's trending down towards a 5. The New York Islanders with a 2.4 total heading into Minnesota. The Wild have a 2.8 total. Sorokin probable. Philip Gustafsson's confirmed. I like the goalies in this game. That's not going to be a surprise. I see there's a lot of ownership on the Minnesota top line here. I'll just come out and say it. Like, I'd much rather play Pittsburgh than Minnesota tonight, and they're similar price points. Like, if anything, the Minnesota top wild's fine, but like, I just 2.8 total. The Wild have been awful by their expected goals metrics. Like, Hartman being up there has helped. If anything, maybe I'll just one-off Kaprizov or like do like a Joe Eriksson Boldy 2-man, but like that doesn't even excite me. So I just don't think I'm going to have much from this game.
Yeah, I'll say I don't have any interest in the Islanders. Minnesota's just flat out been one of the best defensive teams in the league. of late. Like basically going back to Christmas, but I'm just looking at the last 20 games. I think they're 8th by expected goals against, 5th by actual goals against at 5-on-5. The penalty kill has been pretty good in the meantime. I just don't think this is necessarily a spot to go in on the Islanders. Like I was looking at Bo Horvat, his numbers without Matt Barzal. He has 8 shots in 5 games without him. And the Bo Horvat and Anders Lee are generating 2.7 expected goals without Barzal, which is a little bit above league average. And you're going into a brutal defensive matchup against a team with a good penalty kill that doesn't take like a ton of penalties.
With a good goalie, too. It's not like there's a bad goalie behind him.
Right. Gustafson's having a pretty good season as well. Yeah. If you want to one-off like Kyle Palmieri, I think that's fine. If you want to one-off, even Bo Horvat, I think that's fine. But no Islanders. On the Minnesota Wild side, like the top line, it's I think it took them a little while to get acclimated back with Hartman there because he was there a lot of last season and they had a lot of success. And they have been a lot better of late. Like they were struggling to generate offense in like the first half dozen games when Hartman got there. But I was looking just over their last 4 weeks, like the month of February, like since the All-Star game, basically. 3.2 expected goals for, 3.6 actual goals for, 83 shot attempts generated per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Like they've been generating a lot. And here's the second part to this is that the Islanders have been giving up a lot defensively of late. Top line, 3.2 expected goals against. Second line, 3.1 expected goals against. It's not really a bad matchup for Minnesota one. Going into Sorokin really, really sucks. But Minnesota power play's still been good. Like, I think this is like I would rather play Minnesota than Buffalo. And they're basically the same price, but it's just Minnesota's coming in with a lot less ownership. 40% less ownership. I think I would probably rather play the Florida top line as well. It's just ownership concerns, right? So I do like Minnesota one here. I think, I'm with you. I don't think you have to full stack him. You can just one-off Kaprizov if you want. But that's about where it would end. I was talking about this on Twitter. Like, Marcus Foligno is just dragging Matt Boldy's offensive potential straight to hell. Like, there's no other way to put it. Foligno and Boldy and Eriksson Ek on the ice, 2.2 expected goals for per 60 minutes, well below league average. They're scoring even less than that. Boldy and Foligno going back to last year are something like 18% below league average in expected goals for per 60 minutes. Like Foligno, I think I said this on the show with Pete. If you look at Foligno's micro stats, when he gets into the offensive zone, he's passing to the defenseman. He doesn't even pass to the forwards. So what do you do with a guy like that on your line, right? Because if you ever give him the puck, it's a turnover, right? Like basically. So I have no interest in the Minnesota depth. For me, this game, if I'm stacking anything, it's the Minnesota top line. Otherwise, I'm just moving along.
Yeah, and the way Minnesota matches, like that Hartman line's going to go out a whole bunch against Zizekas, Matt Martin, or like Adu Kovula and Josh Bailey. And if for some reason Sorokin doesn't get confirmed, like Varlamov has been good this year, but he's not Sorokin. So yeah, there is merit to playing Minnesota one here. I just, ownership wise, doesn't feel great. If Hartman was on the top power play, I mean, it's not the best power play spot anyway. Islanders have a pretty good penalty kill, but like, I don't know. It's just like just feels good clicking in a fully correlated line. I don't know, but yeah, Minnesota one. Like, I just have a problem paying $6,500 or above for Matt Zuccarello, right? You know what I mean? Like last year, he was like $5,400. His metrics were so much better. He's not having the best season, but he is still with Kaprizov. He's having an unbelievable season. So yeah, there's merit to it. Let's move on to the next one here. Los Angeles Kings with a 2.7 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 2.9 total. Phoenix Copley, Connor Hellebuyck are confirmed. Pierre-Luc Dubois is a game-time decision. If he's out, Bowness said they will be going 11-7, which is kind of annoying. If he's in, Dubois will be in between Ehlers and Niederreiter. Niederreiter is min price. on DraftKings tonight, which if you play cash, seems like a pretty good spot to play Nino Niederreiter. That being said, this total has kind of dropped throughout the day. I guess, probably, the Pierre-Luc Dubois news. If it's 11-7, you would think, or if Dubois is out as well, you would think Nikolai Ehlers jumps up to the top power play unit, which kind of interests me in him more. Like, he just needs that power play. What?
He's not. They said if Dubois is out, Wheeler's moving up to the power play.
That is just max pain. Like, Rick Donovan is an absolute donkey.
Like, I maybe you missed it in our Discord. The joke was Nick Ehlers is trying to skate over to the top power play guys in practice, and Rick Bowness is like Krusty the Clown sitting on his porch with a shotgun saying, just keep on skating. So, no, Nick Ehlers will not be on the – unless another guy besides Dubois gets hurt.
Rick Bowness is one of my least favorite coaches in the NHL. He did some clown stuff with the Stars last year. Maybe he's a good overall coach. He's helped him. Like, the Jets are much better than expected, so maybe he's a good actual coach. But for DFS, it is just a gong show. Man, that makes that top line fully correlated. Wheeler, Scheifele, Connor. Like, the thing is here, right? If they go 11-7, Scheifele and Connor are just going to play massive minutes tonight. So those are the guys I'd concentrate on. On the Kings side, it's probably, Danault, Arvidsson, Fiala.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough to say exactly what to do unless we know Dubois is playing. And the other thing is Winnipeg has been pretty Jekyll and Hyde on how they do their line matching, which is important for this game because the Kings' top two lines are both pretty good defensively. Now, there isn't a big sample on the second line with Fiala there, so maybe they won't be as good. But in the sample they've had, they've been better than league average. And generally speaking, this year, that Kings second line has been really, really good defensively. But Winnipeg has, at times, used their own third line as a shutdown line. So they'd be going out against Kopitar, and then they'd use Scheifele and Wheeler against the opposing second line. Now, if they did that, it would ostensibly leave Ehlers, Dubois, and Niederreiter to play against the Kings' bottom six, which I would have a ton of interest in, especially where there's not a lot of ownership. The Ehlers, Dubois, Niederreiter line, 3.5% ownership by the top stacks tool. Dubois, if Dubois plays, Dubois and Niederreiter are going to be on the top power play unit. So you get 2 out of 3 guys on the top power play unit. The Kings penalty kill has improved, but isn't elite. So I'll just say it's Ehlers, Dubois, and Niederreiter that I like here because I think no matter what, they're not going to get the top line matching. So they're going to avoid Kopitar and Byfield. And that since Byfield got there, they've been really, really good defensively. I would rather take my chances against the second line with Kevin Fiala there. So for me, it's Ehlers, Dubois, and Niederreiter. I don't want to say this because it sounds outlandish, but I'm going to say it anyway. I view Nino Niederreiter and Kyle Connor at 5-on-5 as pretty similar players. They both like to shoot more than they like to pass. They both like to carry the puck in transition, and they both can help their teammates score. Yes, I do think Kyle Connor is the better goal scorer, quote unquote. I just think the function that Niederreiter can serve on that line can be similar to what Kyle Connor served while he was there. And while Kyle Connor was playing with Dubois and Ehlers, their offensive numbers were through the roof. 4.4 expected goals for, 4.2 actual goals for per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. Like I said, I don't think Niederreiter's as good as Connor offensively, but I think he can fill in a very similar role to what Connor played, and Niederreiter's getting top power play minutes. So Ehlers, Dubois, Niederreiter for me is where I would go. Yeah, it would suck if Niederreiter's out, but there are other lines later in the slate that you can swap to, right? Like you can just straight swap over to Los Angeles 1 if you want in this game. There's some Calgary stacks you can switch over to. There's some San Jose stacks you can switch over to. So even if Dubois is out and you want to get off Winnipeg entirely, there are other places you can go. So it's Dubois, Ehlers, Niederreiter for me. No interest for me on the Kings side. Pretty bad power play spot. The top power play unit has come alive a little bit lately. The second power play unit's still pretty good. There's not much ownership here. So they are playable, and the Kings top line would be in play for me if I knew they were getting that Morgan Barron shutdown line, right? So I think the Kings top line is playable, but I think it would be more of an MME thing. I wouldn't play them in a single entry. If I was going single entry and taking a line out of this game, it's Dubois, Dubois, Ehlers, and Niederreiter. And I don't think there's a close second for me.
Yeah, I agree. As long as Dubois is in. Patty Kane trade just went through. Rangers got Patty Kane for 2023 conditional second round pick and a fourth round pick.
That's actually more than I thought that they would get for him.
Considering that Patty Kane's like, I only want to play for New York.
That's why. He was like, I'm going to the New York Rangers. It seemed like it was like, trade me to the New York Rangers or I'm not coming back. That's basically what it seemed like. Anyways, got to write that up after the show. That'll be fun. All right. Anyways, we got Boston, Calgary to talk about eventually.
Rest in peace, Igor, man. That dude is going to face so much. Man,
I don't think people realize how many shots he's going to face with Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko playing in the top six. It's going to be a lot.
Like Panarin, Trocheck, Kane is going to be one of the worst defensive lines in the top six in the NHL. It's going to be a lot of fun offensively, but holy moly, they are going to be playing some pond hockey when they're on the ice. Anyway, since you're all here, make sure to smash that like button. All 175 of you, thank you for tuning in. And for tuning in, we have a special offer for you. If you click the link in the description below is the only way to get this deal. You can get 4 weeks of NHL on Stokastic for half price, $29.98, which is half off. The normal price is around $60. If you click the link, it will auto-populate what you need to do. You don't have to put in a code or anything. You get everything that we have to offer: projections, ownership, lineup builder, rankings, Discord. I don't know why we don't have, our ISU caddy Eric Lindquist picture up there. He has a nice face for radio, which is nice for, things here, or our face really. They had us take pictures at the beginning of the year. We're very good looking men. I don't know why we're not on here, but I digress. You get all this for 50% off. And, the Discord's my favorite thing. You get, alerts when the lines are different. A whole bunch of shenanigans. There's a whole bunch of people. If you have questions, like a ton of people will be willing to help you. Way more people than work there. Like me, you, and Jake work there. But then you have guys like Henry, who's really good at Showdown and MME. Our pal, Mr. Goodman, just to name a few. Still haven't actually confirmed that Henry's human yet. I have not seen an emotion out of him in 3 years, but thank you, Henry, for all you do in the Discord. It is a big help. Shares lines, gives a lot of strategy. Maybe he's the FBI guy, checking out our Discord to make sure it's in line. I'm just kidding. But the Discord's a lot of fun, and you get all that for 50% off. You also have an option to do weekly. It'll get you through the end of this week to next Monday. There are a big slate tomorrow and Thursday, and Saturday. So you get 4 big slates for under $10. So make sure to click that link in the description. Let's talk about the Bruins and Flames.
Just real quick. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in and bring up the lineup builder because I've been building a lineup through the show. I put Ilya Sorokin in net from that Islanders Minnesota game. Just seems cheap enough, reasonable enough to use. I used your Buffalo line. Okay, we'll put Buffalo 1 in the sample lineup. So we put in Thompson, Skinner, and Quinn. But I wanted to do that because I wanted to see if they fit with Winnipeg, and they do. Dubois, Niederreiter, Ehlers fits pretty easily with that Buffalo top line. You have almost 4K left for each defenseman with Sorokin in net. So I think we're going to be making a lot of
Mr. Power.
Yeah, I think we're going to let's put an Owen Power on the blue line. We'll talk about defenseman later, but Power makes sense. I think you're going to be able to make a lot of fun lineup combinations and stacks here tonight. Yeah.
That's the thing. Now that you see how easy it is to build with Buffalo 1, it kind of makes you want to play them less because you think the ownership's going to go up a little bit more. So, I don't know. Food for thought. But let's talk about those Bruins and Flames. Bruins with a 3.1 total. Heading into Calgary, the Flames have a 2.8 total. Linus Ullmark, Dan Vladar confirmed. Bruins played yesterday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they played last night.
Yeah, they played the
In
Oilers.
Edmonton.
They beat them 3-2. This is a tough matchup on both sides here. The one differentiating thing here is Linus Ullmark has had a very good season, and the Calgary Flames goalies have been absolute poopers. So like it kind of makes me want to go to the Bruins side a bit more, but like I don't think I'm gonna prioritize this game in 1-3. If you want to one-off David Pastrnak, I think he's always fine as a one-off. That top line of Bergeron, Marchand, DeBrusk fully correlated. Not much ownership there, but like again, like I'm not super enthusiastic about playing either side in 1-3 lineups tonight.
Yeah, I don't see myself backing the Boston side because of this reason. I think their top line, I mean, Kel Surprise, but I think their top line is easily their best offensive line, and they're going to get that Coleman Mangiapane Backlund matchup, and that's turning into one of the worst matchups in hockey. Like Bergeron is getting Bergeron himself here tonight. You know what I mean? But yes, the Calgary goaltending has been extremely shaky this season. It's kind of like that Columbus situation again. It's like, do I want to play Buffalo just because the opposing goalie has been bad for 2/3 of one regular season? You know what I mean? It's that's the same vibes I have with Boston. Like, do I want to play Boston? And what is a pretty bad matchup going up against the Backlund line and a Calgary team with a really, really good penalty kill, but with bad goaltending? Like, that's what you're hanging your hat on. So I'm not going to say don't play Boston here tonight because, like I said, the top line has been really good. Like, DeBrusk missed some time with an injury, but since Christmas, 4.3 expected goals for, 4.2 actual goals for, shooting about league average percentage-wise. They're just generating so much volume. So I don't have a problem with Boston 1, but it's a situation where I think if I was playing 20 lineups, I might have a Boston 1. If I was playing, 150, I would certainly have a few Boston 1. In a single entry, I don't see the need to play a 21K line going in a brutal matchup and just hoping that they can score 4 by a bad goalie. Like, I would probably rather just go play Pittsburgh at the same price. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of how I look at it. So I think I would rather play Pittsburgh, but if you want to go back to Boston, it's fine. But I do think David Pastrnak makes a pretty fine one-off on the slate because, Boston does somehow score like 4 goals. Pretty good bet that he's going to be involved in a lot of them. So it's about where I stand there. On the Calgary side, not a whole lot of interest in anything. The top line's generating a lot of shots, but not a lot of quality. The only reason they're scoring is because they're shooting 15%. You do that, you don't generate quality against Linus Ullmark, you're going to have a pretty bad night offensively. If anything, it would be the second line. It would be the Kadri Huberdeau Peltier line. They have been generating quality. It's just their problem is they're shooting 6%. If that can regress, they could be a really, really, really good offensive line. And, that Boston second line is not a brutal matchup or anything. Dmitry Orlov is there now. He's not going to help matters defensively. He'll help them offensively, but not defensively. So, if anything, it would be the Kadri line, but I don't have a lot of stacking interest in this game.
Yeah, me either. A couple things before we move on. The condition on the second rounder, the Chicago in the Kane deal, becomes a first if the Rangers win 2 rounds in the playoffs. If they do win 2 rounds, the pick moves to either 2024 or 2025. So it's not bad there. Also, we have a $20 super chat from BMan0710. 0710. Yeah, I said that right. Thank you very much for the super chat for the advice on 2-6 Florida 1 stack. That was a few weeks ago. Won $2,500. I like the idea then. Now I like the idea of a Tampa stack. Thank you very much. Or thank you guys. Thank you very much for the super chat. I don't remember the advice then. I would have to go back and watch it. These days blend together. But congratulations for you. I'm glad some advice stuck and you won some money because of it. So hopefully you keep it up.
Yeah. You're the one that had to click those players in. So congrats to you. But if I'm not mistaken, that was the game where the second line had like 14 points or something like that. And they beat the brains out of Tampa Bay.
Oh, the one that we both recommend, and then we both faded them.
Yeah, that one. So yeah, congrats on that win. Thanks a lot for the super chat. We really appreciate it. And let's hope we can do that again and win you some more money.
Yep. Let's get to these last two games quickly. Both absolute circuses.
God.
Chicago Blackhawks, a 2.6 total heading into Arizona. The Coyotes have a 3.4 total. Alex Stalock, probable. Karel Vejmelka, confirmed. 14% on Arizona one here. I think that is a little bit higher than I wanted. They have been very good. Chicago has a pretty decent PK. The thing is, like, Stalock hasn't played in months. You have no idea what you're going to get here. Blackhawks are back-to-back on the road, so I think Arizona 1 makes some sense. You want to go to Arizona 2 for the 5-on-5. They've been a pretty good line. They're getting way less ownership, so I don't mind that. On the Blackhawks side, I don't mind the Blackhawks power play going back to them, even without Kane. Like Anthony CU, top power play, one off at 3,400, I think is fine. Tyler Johnson, Taylor Radish, I think is fine. But I think I prefer the Coyotes side.
Yeah. Chicago's kind of in that one-off boat for me. Like I don't even hate him one-off Max Domi. Has anybody looked at Max Domi's production lately?
Had a very good season.
Offensive. Like very good is kind of underlying it. He has 25 shots and 14 points in his last 7 games. 3.5 shots and 2 points per game in his last 7. That's absolutely absurd. He's basically the engine now with Kane gone, Taves out of the lineup. They traded 2 defensemen, one of them Jack Johnson, so whatever. But like a one-off Domi, yeah, perfectly fine. One-off Taylor Radish, Tyler Johnson, those guys, perfectly fine. It's another situation where I'm not full stacking anything. This team just hasn't been able to generate consistently. So you're riding percentages, and if you're riding percentages, it's really tough to rack up like those shot bonuses and those 3-point bonuses for multiple players because you're relying on like scoring 3 goals on 4 shots or something. So one-offs fine, stacking no. The Arizona top line, this might be the best top line they've had a decade. Like, honestly, they've been really good all season since they moved Hayden there. Just in the month of February, 3.4 expected goals for, 5 actual goals for, all skating 20 to 21 minutes, all on the top power play unit. Even if they come in 14, 15%, I think it's fine because there are a lot. The thing is like a 15% $23,000 line really worries me because there are only so many places you can go unless you're just jamming in a bunch of one-off value. But a 16,000, what is it, 16.5, I think they are? A $16,500 line at 15% doesn't really bother me because there are so many lines that you can put with them, right? You can put Winnipeg, you can put Pittsburgh, you can put Buffalo, you can put Florida, you can put Tampa Bay, you know what I mean? So you can do so, and then you can add in Valimaki on the blue line for power play exposure. You can add in Nick Bukestad and take out one of the wingers if you want or something like that. There are ways to get different if you want, and because of their price where they are, there are a lot of ways. There are going to be a lot of unique lineups even with that full line stack. So I really do like Arizona 1. If you want to dip down to Arizona 2, no problem at all. But Arizona 1 is playing better. They're getting more minutes, all the top power play time. Stalock's coming back from eye surgery. Maybe he plays well, but I really do like the Arizona top line in this match.
Yeah, it's funny because like Schmaltz's biggest problem when he was with the Blackhawks was he didn't shoot the puck enough, right? Now he's shooting the puck and it's going in the net. Like he's like pretty much a point per game player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like he's coming into his own, and that line is just very good. So yeah, do like Arizona top line. Let's get to this mess of a late night hammer. This game starts an hour and a half later than all the other games. Lock. Montreal Canadiens with a 2.9 total heading into San Jose. The Sharks have a 3.5. Jake Allen probable. Capo Kakinen confirmed. Obviously, Timo Meier got traded to the Devils. So the top line is like essentially Couture, Barabanov, Esamont. Second line of Hurdle, Martin Kaut, Noah Gregor. Like, yeah, that Sharks line with Esamont has been very good. They're just getting a boatload of ownership. Like it's just like, do I want to play that line? Like, they're super cheap and I get it, but like, do I want to play them at like 14% or the Coyotes at 14%? It's probably the Coyotes. Like, Couture is Couture. Like, he hasn't had the best season, but he is on the top power play in a good power play spot. His numbers with Esamon have been very, very good since Esamon moved there. So maybe you can shed some light on this line a little bit here.
No, there's nothing much to say because, like, one thing about players on new teams is like, yeah, maybe they have like a short burst right out of the gate, but then they tail off pretty quick. Like, I think you saw that with Sam Steele in Minnesota, but Esamon hasn't had that in San Jose. He had 31 shots on goal in his first 10 games, and I was like, whoa, 3 shots per game, that's a lot. And he has 31 shots in 9 games since. Like, he's actually shooting more. So like they are and they have been generating a ton. 4.6 expected goals for in the month of February, 4.1 actual goals for. 2 out of the 3 guys will be on the top power play unit at least. I'll say I would much rather play Couture, Barabanov, Esamon than I would that chalky Nashville line coming in at the same price. So if people, anybody out there thinking of playing Nashville, I think if you're going to play a chalky line at home tonight, it would be this San Jose line way over that chalky Nashville line. But I do think I'm just going to be fading San Jose here. Losing Timo Meier is a big loss. I don't care what anyone says, especially for the power play. They just don't have anybody that can step in. Nick Bonino, it's Nick Bonino taking his spot on the power play. You're replacing one of the top scoring wingers in the league with a defense first, fourth line center. What are we doing? So no,
is what they're doing.
Like, I think a one-off Thomas Hertl actually makes quite a bit of sense here. Sure, yeah, one-off Nick Bonino. Like I said, I would stack that San Jose top line rather than the Nashville top line. But that's where it would end for the stacking. On the Montreal side, I have no interest in stacking the Habs. I think Denis Gurianov could be better under Montreal than he was in Dallas. The problem is Nick Suzuki has really struggled without Josh Anderson or Cole Caulfield on his wing. And it's like, does having Mike Hoffman there, who's a shot bot, he's a passer, and Denis Gurianov, who doesn't play defense, a good dual threat offensive guy probably in the long term, but doesn't play defense. Is that, are those 2 players going to help Suzuki when he's been struggling already without Anderson and Caulfield? I think the answer is a pretty resounding no. I don't mind one-offing, certainly on the Montreal side. One-off Gurianov makes sense. One-off Hoffman, I think all that makes sense. One-off Josh Anderson off the second line makes sense. But no stacking for me from the Montreal side. I think these are pretty bad line combinations. Like Josh Anderson and Jonathan Drouin playing together this season up around 100 minutes aren't very far off, are at about a 35% expected goal share. They're getting absolutely crushed. So, yeah, if I'm stacking anything in this game, it's a San Jose top line. I don't mind some one-off from the Montreal wingers, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's just annoying that this game is at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I just don't have much interest in it. That is the 10 gamer coming up after us. The new show, The Odds Shop. Did I just disconnect again? No, I'm still here.
No.
News. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, here I am. Coming up after us, The Odd Shop is a new show on the Odd Shopper channel with Laffy and Ben going over today's best bets. Let's talk a little bit about those gremlins who live behind the blue line. Defensemen. Who you liking?
Well, there are quite a few players that I do like on the slate here tonight on the blue line. I think for the expensive guys, Thomas Chabot, Mikhail Sergachev, and Roman Josi are the ones that stick out. Sergachev moving up to power play 1, obviously, is a pretty big deal. Josi, if Nashville creates anything, it's going to be off of him. And we saw last night what Chabot can do in this particular matchup. So I do like that. In the mid-price range, like I think Owen
power pretty clearly should be power play slotting. Jake Wallman, 7 blocks, I think, last night or something like. I think he can do that again. Mike Matheson been playing pretty well for Montreal, and I think he's might be my favorite play from the Montreal Canadiens from all their skaters, let alone their defensemen. So I don't mind him. Jeff Petrie from Pittsburgh as well. I think not focusing on the power play because it's been pretty shaky, and focusing on 5-on-5 with Petrie is a good way to go. If you want super cheap, watch Nashville because Matthias Ekholm may be traded here. And if he is, like, Alex Carrier might get a lot of minutes. So it's just something to monitor. Like, there's nothing impending, but Ekholm's name has really been out there as a trade candidate. If you still want to keep paying cheap, Jonathan Kovacevic, still only 2,500 on DK. He's definitely a guy. Adam Bachfist moved to the top power play unit for Columbus. Don't mind him for cheap. Troy Stetcher, I know Jake's going to laugh at me, but he's been playing 19, 20 minutes a game for Arizona, and it's a great matchup for them. I'll also mention Jake Sanderson, Ottawa, second power play unit, getting some good minutes, and Jacob Middleton as well. Yeah, he scored yesterday. And Jacob Middleton as well. He's been getting some pretty good minutes. So those are basically the guys that I have loaded in on the blue line right now.
Yeah, a lot of options there, depending on the price point. Arizona all retained salary on the Patty Kane deal, so I'm sure a pick is going there. They don't have the terms yet. Goalie's an interesting one tonight. I don't know why my voice just cracked. Apparently I just hit puberty. We like cheap Karel Vejmelka. He's 8,400 tonight. There's some cheap options that I like as well. Who you liking in that?
Yeah, I actually have Stalock written down because he was having a good season up until that injury. It's just whether he can bounce back from that. I think Ville Husso makes a lot of sense. Maybe people are going to be scared of Detroit here tonight, considering they just got their brains beat in, but he is like easily their best goalie. UC Saros at home as well. Whenever Saros is under 8K at home, I'll always be tempted to play him. And I think, Allmark certainly makes a fair bit of sense here tonight as well. So I think those are the 4 goalies that I'm focusing on.
Yeah, I like both goalies in the Islanders Wild game. Sorokin, Gustafsson. I think Hellebuck is interesting at 8K as well. Allmark, yeah, like you mentioned, 7,800. Like Jake Allen could be interesting as well if he starts. And then you have the cheapest goalie of the night, Elvis Merzlikins, who is the worst goalie in the NHL, but he's 6,700. Doesn't matter that he's the worst goalie in the NHL this season. He could have a saves bonus and pay off at a salary. I wouldn't recommend it, but at 6,700 is always an interesting proposition.
And just to finish off our lineup, 3,800. We had 3,800 left for our last defenseman, which was a real awkward spot because there's a bunch of $3,900 defensemen that I really like. But we couldn't get there, so decided to settle with Ryan McDonough. So that's our official lineup. We have the Buffalo top line with Owen Power. We have the Winnipeg top line. Just remember, watch for Pierre-Luc Dubois. He might be out. Sorokin in net, and then a one-off Ryan McDonough as our defenseman. That is a lineup we're going with tonight, and you can see the stack percentage. You can see the individual projection, or the stack projection, the individual projection, the ownership percentage, everything. You get all that whenever you sign up to Stokastic NHL Platinum. So head on over. Come join us.
In the description, specifically for your viewers, 50% off weekly or monthly. Yeah. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
I'm going to go with a guy that you were slagging, Kirill Marchenko.
Oh, God. No, God, no. I'm going Evgeny Malkin.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So, yeah.
All right. Marchenko and Malkin. Let's go, boys.
A couple Russians came back from my little mini break. There wasn't really a break. You can see the bags under my eyes, a little bit stressed. But, yeah, not too spicy there for me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, I believe. There is a nice size slate tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you in Discord. We'll see you on Twitter. Hope you all win some money. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everyone.